video camera, you don't need anything. Oh, a little phone.
السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ثم أما بعد. Today we'll be talking about Islamic law, fiqh or Islamic jurisprudence. Just a quick introduction. I know this could be oversimplified, could be also so deep and technical. So the goal today is just to try to be somewhere in between, just to give an introduction about Islamic law and how it is made and what are the sources of Islamic law or fiqh. When you say fiqh or faqih, the word fiqh linguistically means understanding. Quran blamed the disbelievers. What's the matter with these people? They barely cannot understand anything. So fiqh means also precise understanding. So especially when something is kind of vague or ambiguous, right? In politics, it's what's going on here. In politics or in any affairs, that you have a good reading of the situation, good understanding of what's going on. That's called fiqh. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was considered the faqih because the Prophet ﷺ one day gave a speech and nobody understood it correctly or precisely except Abu Bakr. It was when the Prophet ﷺ was sick and he found himself like have some energy, so he came to give a short speech. And he said that one of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was given the choice to stay here longer in this life or to go to his Lord and Creator, and he chose to go to his Lord and Creator. And Abu Bakr started weeping and crying, and people looked at him and said, "What's the matter for Abu Bakr? The Prophet is talking about someone." And he knew he's talking about himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's why he was touched and was crying. So he's the only one who understood exactly what the Prophet ﷺ meant. Everybody thought that the Prophet is talking about someone, or the Prophet is giving an example, but the Prophet is talking about himself. And Abu Bakr understood. It's just that's fiqh, precise understanding of what's going on. The word fiqh, that's from linguistic perspective. In the early days in Islam, time of the Prophet and after, until the 2nd century, the word fiqh was meant generally understanding Sharia or understanding Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed for Abdullah ibn Abbas, his cousin, who was young, but he was brilliant, and he prayed for him. He said, Allahumma faqihhu fi din. Ya Allah, give him the fiqh of ad-din. Grant him good, right understanding of religion. In the hadith also in Bukhari and Muslim, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihuhu fi din." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to do good to someone, He subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him precise understanding of religion. Right? So understanding Sharia, understanding Islam. When say this person is faqih, means that he understands Islam, and which includes Islamic theology, Islamic law, Islamic ethics, and so on. But gradually, the word fiqh was given to those who have understanding of Islamic law in particular. You'll be surprised Abu Hanifa is considered one of the greatest fuqaha, and he wrote a book and he named it Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar, the greatest fiqh. And he referred to ma'rifatullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So aqidah, yani our faith, that's the ultimate fiqh, that you need to know Allah and His attributes, who Allah is and how to worship Him and so on. So, but as the time went on, then the meaning meaning, as we call it, العرف اللغوي, يعني the meaning of the word came down to a specific part of Islam or branch of Islam which has to do with Islamic law. So al-fiqh became more attached to Islamic law do's and don'ts. And the faqih now refers to not the one who is specialized in theology or Islamic ethics, no, the one who is specialized in Islamic law, because it's called faqih, right? So this is how the linguistic meaning can apply to various things, but eventually it becomes more specific. Like the word Sharia in particular, Sharia has a general meaning and specific meaning. When we say Sharia, we mean belief, faith, theology, Islamic ethics, Islamic law, all this. So Sharia in this sense is equal to Islam, right? Because believing in Allah is part of the Sharia, right? Getting married, doing Islamic nikah is Sharia. Fasting during Ramadan is Sharia, right? So, but what happened is when we say Sharia, people always think about something specific, which is Islamic law.
Yeah.
So this is also the relationship between the general and the specific, العام والخاص. So, ثم جعلناك على شريعة من الأمر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, and then Muhammad, he said, ثم جعلناك على شريعة من الأمر. We granted you Sharia, that includes faith, belief, ethics, law. So this is how Quran put the word Sharia, right? But the urf changed. The use of the language became more specific. When we say Sharia, everybody think of Sharia law, right? Law is part of Sharia, but it became now equivalent or synonymous to the word Islamic jurisprudence and or Islamic law. So that's the linguistic meaning of fiqh or Islamic law or Sharia. So now when we say fiqh from technical perspective now, we know now fiqh now is focusing on Islamic law. Many different technical definitions, but the vast majority of the scholars like and agree with Imam al-Shafi'i in his precise definition of fiqh. And putting definition for something, by the way, is so difficult. So it has the definition has to be exclusive and inclusive. Inclusive to anything related to it, and exclusive to anything that is irrelevant. So every word must be chosen carefully. So what is fiqh? Imam al-Shafi'i defined fiqh as the knowledge of practical Sharia rulings which are derived from their sources. Again, the knowledge of the practical, because the word practical is important, practical Sharia rulings which are derived from their sources. Okay, so let's analyze this definition. The knowledge of practical Sharia rulings. So to know the practical, what do you mean by practical? The word practical here is important. العلم بالأحكام العملية الشرعية المستنبطة من أدلتها التفصيلية. الأحكام الشرعية, as we said, could be part of Islamic faith, theology, right? Could be part of the act of the heart, that sincerity and intention and love of Allah, tawakkul ala Allah. That's not part of Islamic law. Islamic law does not really have anything to do with these things. How to purify yourself, how to improve your iman. That's not the business of the faqih. You can go to a sheikh or a sufi or someone who is expert in purification of the soul, right? But the faqih is not going to answer these questions. My iman is weak, what should I do to increase my iman? Open in a book of fiqh, you will not find an answer to this question, because that's not the area of Islamic law. So what do we mean by practical Sharia rulings? We mean that the actions of the responsible believer. By responsible mean adult, mature, sane, Muslim mukallaf, al-mukallaf, أفعال المكلفين, right? Everything you do, every action, including what we say, right? Because what we say is part of our action. So And what are these rulings? The rulings of human action. So, for example, we know giving zakat is a must. You have to give your zakat if you are wealthy enough, right? That's Sharia ruling. How much, how to calculate it? You need to know about this because it's part of your responsibility, right? If you don't know, then you'll be questioned by Allah. Why didn't you know? Why didn't you spend some time knowing about this? By the way, we have zakat workshop, inshallah, on January 13th, for those of you who want to increase their knowledge about zakat. Fasting during Ramadan. We know it is an obligation for those who are able to fast, but what are the ahkam of I'm traveling? What should I do now? Should I fast? I'm sick. I cannot fast. So in this case, what should I do? Then you need to go to someone who studied Islamic law and he will give you the ruling for your particular case. All right? So every case is different. Everybody is different. Okay? So in your case, you should not fast and make it up later on. Or you should not fast and you cannot make it later, so you should feed one person for every day that you cannot fast. That's the hukm, okay, of actions of the mukallafeen, the responsible believers. Al-ahkam. And so al-ahkam is what the faqih does. He tells you haram, halal, do it and don't do it. You cannot do that. You'll be punished if you do this. You'll be rewarded if you do that, and so on. That's ahkam. So ahkam actually are divided into 5 according to the majority of scholars, and into 7 according to Hanafi. Hanafi school have their own categories, which is not very different from the Jumhur or the majority of the scholars. And let's find out why. They have 7, not 5. So the majority of the Shafi'i and Hanbali and Malikis categorize the ahkam into 5. One is the obligation, which is fard, that you'll be rewarded when you do it, like fasting in Ramadan. You'll be punished if you don't, without having bad excuse. And then what is recommended? It's not an obligation, but it's highly recommended. We call it mustahab or mandub, or sometimes we call it sunnah. It's good to do it. To fast every Monday and Thursday, for example. You will not be punished if you don't fast, but you'll be rewarded if you do. Okay. The third is permissible. It is permissible. So can I take a nap after Jum'ah prayer? Yeah, it's permissible. It's not recommended. It is not disliked. It's not prohibited. It's mubah. Mubah means permissible. Okay? Can I take a shower while I'm fasting? People ask these questions all the time. Yeah, of course you can take a shower while I'm fasting. While I'm in case of state of ihram, can I take off my ihram, take a shower, put my ihram back? Yeah, that's mubah. It is not like sunnah or recommended, and it's not prohibited in any way. So it is. And by the way, the good news is the vast majority of our actions are mubah. Although people ask questions about them. So whatever, okay, so everything is mubah unless it is proven otherwise. Okay? Of course, when you fulfill all your obligations, can I go and play soccer? Can I play tennis with my friend? Yeah, it's mubah. As long as not preventing you from fulfilling your prayers, for example. You have free time. Can we take a vacation? Yeah, it's mubah. Can I travel? Yeah, go ahead, travel. There's no hukm here. It's mubah, permissible. Okay. And the fourth is what is known as disliked or detested or makruh. It is not forbidden, but it's better to leave it. It's close from being forbidden. All right, an act that you should leave it. If you do it, you will not be punished. But if you leave it, although you want to do it, you'll be rewarded, inshallah. So what is makruh? To sleep on your stomach. The Prophet ﷺ said that that's not the right way. So sleeping in your stomach is makruh. Coming to the masjid while you don't brush your teeth, for example, or you eat garlic or onion to come to the masjid, that's makruh. It's disliked. Don't do that. praying between Maghrib and Isha, sleeping between Maghrib and Isha. Pray Maghrib and you're tired, but wait until Isha comes, pray Isha and go and sleep. But sleeping this time, or after Asr even. After Dhuhr is okay because this is like the middle of the day, take a nap, but after Asr, you're getting closer from the night, it's better to sleep. What else? To eat with your left hand, for example. Eating with your left hand, this ummah is the ummah of the right, right? So always use your right hand, right? And so on. These are some examples of what is makruh, right? And then the fifth is what is haram. That's not only disliked, it is forbidden. Okay, so like all forbidden things we know, eating pork, drinking alcohol, and so on. That's haram. If you do, you'll be punished. So the Hanafis actually added two more categories, right? So we mentioned the obligation, which is fard, right? Same thing, like the Hanaf. But the Hanafis add something after the fard, which they call it wajib. So wajib is less than fard, but you'll be punished if you don't do it, still. Does anybody know why they divide obligation into two? Obligation or fard and wajib. And then the recommended, the same thing. What is recommended or mustahab? The same, right? And what's permissible? Same thing. The disliked, they divide it into two. Dislike and what I did not find actually translations. Makruh tahrim, makruh karaha tahrimiyya. So makruh, dislike, and dislike to haram. All right? And then the final one is the haram. So now if you notice, did you notice something? That the recommended is divided into two, recommended and wajib. And the makruh is makruh and makruh tahrim. So the recommended for the jumhur, they divide into two. And the makruh, they divide it into two. Makruh and makruh tahrim. Why is that? What is their philosophy? What is their methodology? Why did they do that? Very brilliant, I think. And that's unique to Hanafi madhab. I respect that so much. For example, for them, witr is wajib. You have to pray witr. For Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali, if you don't pray witr after Isha, you will lose the reward, but you're not rewarded. But for Hanafis, no, it's wajib. It's not just recommended, it is between recommended and fard. It is in between, it's wajib. So you'll be rewarded when you do it, you'll be punished if you don't. They have their own dalils, we can talk about this if you are Christian. And what is makruh? Could be makruh karaha tanzihiyya and makruh karaha tahrimiyya. Tanzihiyya, as we said, don't eat with your left hand. Not a big harm, but it's better not to do it. But makruh karaha tahrimiyya. Tahrimiyya, like we mentioned before, wearing gold or silk for men, for example. So what is the difference between this and the forbidden? Right? What is the difference? The difference is methodological. It has to do with the power, the authority of the evidence. As we mentioned, derived from their sources. So if the source is certain, then it's forbidden. Quran says, for example, don't eat riba, lending people money and take it back with interest. That's strictly prohibited, clear in the Quran. The Quran is the highest authority, right? But what is established based on a less authoritative evidence, that they call it wajib. Sorry, they call it makruh karaha tahrimiyya. So it's not forbidden. So that silk, wearing silk or gold for men is not mentioned in the Quran. It's mentioned in a very authentic hadith. So Abu Hanifa said we cannot make these two evidence equal when it comes to authority. Quran has more authority because it is more certain and higher authority. Hadith, yes, hadith is authentic, narrated in many different narrations. So the hukm is established that men, Muslim men, cannot wear silk or gold. But because the dalil, the evidence, is not as authoritative and as powerful as the Quran, we cannot make the hukm similar to the hukm of the Quran. It is prohibited, but makruh karaha tahrimiyya. Same thing for what is recommended. What is recommended, like witr, for example, the ulama said it's recommended, highly recommended to pray witr before you sleep. But for Hanafis, no, it is not. It's more than recommended. It is wajib. So why it's not fard? Like praying Isha, for example. No, said no. Praying Isha is established by the Quran and by the mutawatir sunnah. It's not just a hadith. It is a hadith that the entire ummah narrated and inherited. Right? I cannot make equal what is established with 100% certainty, evidence, with a source that's recognized, but it does not give us, it may give us 95, 97% certainty. They're not equal. That's why he different. And this actually, when you apply this to hundreds of thousands of masail, you can see, you know what? Hanafis, they have a point. They have a point. That's why Hanafis, for example, say that you cannot combine or shorten the prayer when you're traveling. You cannot combine the prayer. Pray on time. Why is that? Abu Hanifa, Malik, Shafi, and Ahmad said you can't combine. I mean, it's rukhsa, man, make it easy for people. Said, well, praying on time was very well established in the Quran. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا. Quran says that salah is prescribed in a certain time. And you cannot particularize what is general in the Quran by an authentic hadith. Authentic hadith, although it's authentic, but does not have it does not have the same authority as the well-established ayah in the Quran. So the well-established ayah in the Quran give us 100% certainty. These hadith give us maybe 90 something, but does not have authority over the Quran. So Quran can particularize Quran. And one ayah says, you must fast. It's general, right? But another ayah, equally authoritative, said, but if you are traveling or are sick, you can make it up later on. That's okay. Quran, fine. Because they have the same authority. So Quran can give exceptions. But the hadith that comes with less certainty cannot give exceptions to what is established in the Quran. You understand what how Abu Hanifa thinks? Makes sense?
Yeah.
It makes sense. But sometimes makes our life more difficult. Because honestly, I had this discussion because I was dealing in Hanafi, not Hanafi, let me rephrase this. Community that practice Islam based on their understanding of Hanafi. They're not Hanafis, so they're not what they believe are Hanafis. Anyways, there's a big difference between the two. That in a hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ said when Eid falls on Friday and you come for Eid prayer, you don't have to come for Jum'ah. Right? It's rukhsa khalas, because people come from far, they have big gathering and they go back. By the time they go back, it's almost Jum'ah time. So it's difficult for people to attend to gathering, to ceremonies. I was just giving this as an example of how Islam is easy and making it easy on people and so on. Hadith, many ulama said that, well, based on this hadith, if Jum'ah and Eid come together on the same day, then if you pray Eid in Jama'ah, then you can pray Dhuhr in your home. You don't have to come for Jum'ah. Oh my God, they open, the automatic weapons or semi-automatic weapons. Oh man, now you are changing the religion. I said, well, I did not change the religion, but you don't have to do this. If you want to come for Jum'ah, come for Jum'ah, that's fine. But I'm saying, and maybe for those who live next door to the masjid, it's a piece of cake, it's not a big deal. But for those who live very far away, really, it's difficult. I don't know if you experienced this yourself, but this is the case. So, this rukhsa azima yani. But for them, no, because Al-Quran says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع. When you hear the adhan of Jum'ah, leave everything and come for salah. Well established in Surah, actually, the name of the Surah is Surah Al-Jum'ah, the name of the Surah, Surah Al-Jum'ah. Clear command established in the Quran, the highest authority in Islam. And this hadith does not give us 100% certainty. Maybe someone added to it, maybe it's weak from one angle, maybe it does not give us certainty. So the less certain has no power and authority to particularize the higher authority. And for him, this hadith does not count. It is not hadith for him. You have to come for Jum'ah. So there are good and bad for this methodology of Abu Hanifa, but I found it actually more useful when it comes to mu'amalat, as we'll talk about this. So, العلم بالأحكام الشرعية العملية. Practical Sharia rulings. These are the rulings. 5 according to the majority and 7 according to Abu Hanifa. Right? So the faqih's job is to tell you a short answer. You can ask half an hour question. Right? And this is what happens sometimes. And the faqih will say, yes, you can do that. It's jais. It is mubah. Or it is even recommended to do that. Or no, haram, cannot do that. That's the job of the faqih, to give you to judge an action of a person, all right, whether it is wajib or recommended or permissible or disliked or haram. All right? Of course, it would be better for the faqih to tell you it's haram because Quran said this and the Prophet said that. That's the second half of the definition, which is derived from their sources. So haram, makruh, mustahab, mubah, 5 rulings. Let's go with the majority, 5 rulings. It's not just coming out of nowhere. It's not coming from what the Imam thinks. It has to be established based on the Quran or the Sunnah of the Prophet. Keep this in mind. The highest authority in Islam is not a bunch of people. It's not scholars or a council of scholars. It's not human beings. The highest authority in Islam is the text. That's why we take pride of having a text that no doubt, that never changed. Quran. Right? So everything has to be derived from the Quran. Sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. Sometimes directly, the Quran says, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. End of the story. No discussion. No disagreement. No madhab. Everybody agrees. But what if, 2 things. One is that the Quran did not say anything about that question in hand. Or the Quranic language is to some extent ambiguous. Ambiguous is not negative, by the way. Ambiguous means that can be understood in many different ways. It's open for various interpretations. So we have 2 or 3 opinions. Everybody's quoting the same verse. Sometimes the Quran is so decisive. Haram, don't do this. If you do this, you'll be, you wrong yourself and you'll be punished. Khalas, end of the story. But what if the language is not very decisive? So why then the Quran speak a language that's not decisive, that's ambiguous? Is it good or bad? It's absolutely good. Why? Because this allows different opinions. And having a variety of opinions is rahmah, it's mercy. I call this the intended vacuum. There is an intended vacuum, a place where the Sharia does not directly say what to do, what not to do. So what do we do in this case? If the Quran says, or the Hadith, or the Sunnah, did not say anything about the question. Does Sharia say, no, Sharia does not provide an answer? No, they have to find an answer still. So, Adillah Tafsiliyah is the Quran and the Sunnah, and then comes the concept of ijtihad. So what is ijtihad? Is it ijtihad that into purely human intellectual effort that disconnected from the source? No. Ijtihad is a human intellectual effort that's linked to the Quran and the Sunnah, or think within the framework of the Quran and the Sunnah, not something totally out of it. So if someone says ijtihad, like silly ijtihads, that many people thought they are smart and they can come up with brilliant ideas. We are in America, Friday is a working day, but Sunday is, off day. So why don't we do Jum'ah ceremony on Sunday? More people come. It's a good idea. Brilliant. That's ijtihad. And ijtihad is thrown in the garbage. Why? Because this goes totally against what the Quran says. Quran says when you hear the adhan of Jum'ah, leave everything and come for Salah. And the name is Jum'ah, right? So we cannot make ijtihad outside of the Nas. The Nas, the text, is the highest authority. You can do ijtihad within the framework. In questions that is not directly answered. And I intentionally use the word, it's not directly answered, but indirectly answered. Like, I gave this example before, like kidney donation, for example. Can you donate your kidney to someone, especially related to you, parents, children, spouse, brother or sister that really need kidney transplant? Can you give? Go and read the Quran. You'll never find an answer, or a direct answer, I would say. There's no direct answer in the Quran. Read the whole books of Hadith, you will never find the Prophet say, whoever donates kidney, because if he said that in the 7th century, that would have seemed like, what are you talking about, right? Unthinkable. So what do we do? Either we say, well, we have no answer, and that's not an option. For Sharia, always provide an answer. So we don't have a direct answer. What do we do? The ijtihad comes in. Ijtihad comes, of course, from qualified people, right? Al-ijtihadu min ahlihi fi mahallihi, as the ulama said. Min ahlihi fi mahallihi. Yani from qualified people in the right question. You cannot ask, can we drink alcohol in the weekend? There's no ijtihad here. Can we pray, fast Ramadan this Ramadan, this coming Ramadan? Can we? Should not? That's not an area of ijtihad. It is done. It is established. You cannot even practice ijtihad in this, right? So there's no mahal for ijtihad. There's no room for ijtihad. Ijtihad when the ruling is not very clear. Okay, so we can divide the rulings into two areas. One, when it is well established by the text, and this is the area known as al-ijma'. This is when all Muslims agree upon. Ulama and non-ulama. As Imam Shafi'i said, كل المسلمين, العالم والجاهل, any ignorant Muslim, they know that stealing is haram, right? Drinking is haram, eating pork is haram, fasting Ramadan is obligation, right? All these things, all Muslims understand, regardless of the level of deviation, is called the area of ijma'. The area of ijma' is not that big, it's small, let's say 10% of the masail. But 90% of the masail is قضايا اجتهادية. يعني إيه؟ يعني اجتهادية means it's subject to intellectual human effort. But not every human, not everybody can practice that. Not everybody can practice medicine, right? It's a crime to practice medicine if you don't have license, right? In Michigan, I don't know about Ohio, you cannot open a barber shop unless you take workshops and you take exams, written and practical, until you know that you can be a good barber, and then you can practice an open barber shop. Simple, right? Makes sense. So, unfortunately, when it comes to Sharia, you don't have to go through anything. Everybody knows everything. Everybody's a scholar, everybody's a alim. Different story. But, al-ijtihadu min ahlihi, ahl al-ijtihad, traditionally, a mujtahid is approved by higher authority. Like what happened in education institution. Who gave you your certificate or degree? Someone who is higher in authority than you, right? You write a thesis, then you defend it, and if you found out that then they give you the degree, right? Someone who's higher than you approves you to practice, and this is the license, right? In the old days, it's not like the institution we have now about a scholar to be recognized as a scholar must be recognized by his teachers, group of scholars. We may practice ijtihad in some situation when something happened, like if you are traveling and you don't know where is the Qibla direction, you can make some ijtihad, try to see, look at the sky, if you're good with the stars and the moon, or in the daytime you see where the sun is. So the sun is sitting, now this is west, so this must be the east. So this is north and this is northeast. So you make some ijtihad to find out the Qibla, right? Now we have campus and apps that can give you the exact direction. You have to do something, right? You just don't pray anywhere. Try your best to find out where is the Qibla. So you can do ijtihad in these little areas, right? But when it comes to big questions, about zakat or what fasting or hajj, no, you have to ask experts. But if you are by yourself, you know, you are on a plane and the time of salah is coming to an end. So should I pray in the plane or wait until I arrive or combine prayers or something like this? You may make a decision based on your ijtihad, what you think. And then when you go and ask scholars, they tell you, okay, that's wrong, don't do this again. May Allah forgive, because you didn't know. Or, yeah, you did the right thing, and that's how it's supposed to be, okay? So practicing ijtihad, we can find ourselves in a position we have to make ijtihad. And then, when we get the chance to read or to ask scholars, tell them what would happen, and then they will tell you whether it was right or wrong. And this happened in the time of the Prophet. Because obviously, in the time of the Prophet, nobody needs to do ijtihad because the Prophet is there, right? Go and ask him. If the Prophet does not know, he would say, I don't know, let's wait for an answer to come. And Quran is full of verses that came as a response to a question that the Prophet was asked, and he didn't know. يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر، يسألونك عن الأنفال، يسألونك عن الأهلة واللي هي مواقيت، يسألونك, they ask you concerning this, tell them this and that. So the answer comes. Sahaba would go, for them, sailors. They sail for weeks in the sea or the ocean, and they come back and they have fresh water. And if they use this fresh water for making wudu 5 times a day, they run out of fresh water, right? And they cannot drink, and they are in trouble. So the question is, can we use the salty water of the sea to make wudu and keep this fresh water only for drinking? That's a very practical question. That's a kind of a good question. Quran discourages people from asking silly questions or hypothetical questions. Don't keep asking so many questions. And the ulama used to tell people that when they ask something, they ask, did it happen? When someone, they call it what ifs, or what if, because what if is endless, right? And as scholars asked, did it happen? They said, no, it did not happen. So when it happens, come and ask, and they will try to find an answer for you. Why should I spend time trying to find a hukm for something that did not happen? It's a waste of time. When it happens, we will spend some time and we'll give you an answer. Okay, so these sailors came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, here's the situation. What should we do? Can we use the salty water of the sea for wudu and shower? And the Prophet ﷺ, excellent question. So the Prophet, look at the beautiful answer. He did not answer just one question, he answered 2 questions. He said about the sea. هو الطهور ماؤه الحل ميتته. The sea or the ocean, its dead animals are pure and clean, you can eat it. And the water, its water is pure and clean. You can use it for tahara. Right? So they asked about one thing, but he answered 2 things. قال هو الطهور ماؤه. So we can absolutely make, if you're at the beach, before you go, just make the niyyah and make wudu. Okay? خلاص. Clean, pure water. And the dead animals are forbidden in Islam, but the exception is whatever comes from the sea. Right? Of course, the fish is dead before you eat it, right? But we still eat this dead fish, right? So that's why I disagree with the Hanafi Imams and I tease them when they say, oh, eating shrimp is makruh. Shrimp and lobster. I said, man, this is my best, that's my favorite food. I'll eat it. The Prophet said, its animals are, dead animals are halal, are pure. So, you tell me otherwise. So the Prophet said this. What did Abu Hanifa or someone else said? I said, no, it's not haram, but it is makruh. I said, why on earth is makruh? Just give me a reason. If the Prophet said it is halal, why you say it's makruh? Because what is halal is the fish, but this is not fish. Oh, we'll get into biology and study how to define fish. You know how many? There are millions of creations in the sea. What about octopus? Is it fish or not fish?
Fish.
Well, I mean, why would you add extra restriction that was not? The Prophet could have said, "Al-hillu maytatuhu," except 1, 2, 3, right? But anything that lives in the sea is ill. Enjoy it. Okay? So this is where the rulings actually differs. One says, well, everything is halal unless it's proven otherwise. Eating anything that comes out of the ocean is halal. You tell me, you have a text, hadith or Quran that says except such and such? There's no such a thing. Oh no, it has to have these shells to be defined as fish. But shrimp and others, because it goes deep down and they eat the garbage of the sea. Let it eat the garbage. It's just amazing, man. So what? The Jews actually prohibit it. It's haram for ultra-Orthodox Jews. For Hanafis, it's makruh. For me, it's halal, pure, clean, good. And not only me, I'm sorry, I mean, majority of the scholars, right? We can go on and on. So, last time we actually went over time, so we'll stop here. Inshallah, next time we can actually continue this intro to Islamic law. So now it's time for questions, if you have any. I'll just get some water. Bismillah.
Of course, I always have questions.
Can you give an example of an ambiguous part of the Quran?
All right. I think we talked about this before. There's, Quran, for example, says when it comes to marriage. Let me give you an example of something that I wrote extensively about it. So it's about like Christian couples, let's say. Okay, they live together, love each other, they have family, they have kids, and the wife converted to Islam. Okay? And we know that a Muslim woman cannot be married to a non-Muslim man. That's established, right? So, but what if both of them were non-Muslims, but the woman converted and the husband does not mind? I'm fine, honey, that's good for you. Okay, I don't mind. Okay, give her a ride to the masjid, buy her Quran and buy halal food. So what is the case now? There's a Quranic verse that was particularly related to a situation where Muslims start migrating from Mecca to Medina, and there was an agreement that whoever comes from Mecca to Medina, the Prophet would turn them back. And whoever comes from Medina to the camp of Mecca, Mecca will accept him. Okay, does this apply to women? Quran says no. When women, Surah Al-Mumtahana, they come to you and you found them believers, don't turn them back to the disbelievers. لا هن حل لهم ولا هم يحلون. They are not halal for their polytheist husbands, and the polytheist husband are not halal for this Muslim woman anymore. So Muslim scholars agree that to initiate marriage contract between Muslim and non-Muslims is null and void, it's haram, cannot be happened. That's the hukm, haram, forbidden. But now that they're already married, they have children, they love each other, and the husband does not mind. He's not preventing her from practicing her religion. In fact, he's helping her doing that. The very same verse that I just quoted, لا ترجعوهن إلى الكفار لا هن حل لهم ولا هم يحلون لهن. Some said, well, this is related to those who force their wives to revert, or they deprive them, don't give freedom of religion, and force them to leave Islam. But if the husband is not doing this, so this ayah, the two groups that say that she should stay with her husband as long as he is not forcing her to leave Islam or giving her a hard time, right? They quote the same ayah. And those that no, it's haram, they quote the same verse. So it's just an example of how you can read the same verse and the context and you reach different conclusions. That's just one example. There's so many other ayat related to family law or some even ibadat. Another example, for example, that in the hadith, the same hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, and everybody recognized hadith as authentic, but you reach different conclusion. Same text that says that if a dog licked your plate, then wash it 7 times, one of them with the sand or the dust. Right? So, what do you understand from this? Many understood kalb, the dog is impure. And therefore, the dog touched your clothes, then you have to wash it. Okay? And so on. That's why many Muslims are very sensitive to dogs. Not because they're afraid of them necessarily, but because I have to change my clothes, it's impure. Right? Imam Malik said, no, where do you find this impurity? The very same text said, I don't see anything about impurity. It says, wash the plate 7 times. This is for hygienic reason, right? How did you extract a ruling that the dog is impure from this? I don't see it. Therefore, dog is pure, and if the dog licked you, it's like a cat. All right? And scientifically, when people eat meat and sleep without brushing their teeth, their mouth will be dirtier than any dog in the world. So what I'm saying is that Malik said that from this hadith, I don't see any connection between impurity and cleaning the plate. But others consider dog impure based on the very same exact text. So this is an example of when the text is ambiguous, and is it good or bad? It's good, because some people have dogs. And if you follow Imam Malik, then your life will be much easier. If you follow other Imams, then your life will be difficult. Because getting rid of the dog is very problematic for many people, and keeping the dog and have to wash everything, it's also difficult. This is where the ambiguity serves a good cause, which is having different opinions that can accommodate more cases.
Imam, a couple questions. The first is the difference between a fiqh ruling and a fatwa. And the second question is that if you are raised, for instance, in the Hanafi school, and the Hanafi school says that you cannot combine prayers, then it's fine to jump schools, like go to what is worth for your convenience, like during work, you'll miss asr if you don't combine it. So those.
I want you to memorize this statement. Simple. Al-Ammiyu la madhhab lahu. Al-Ammi, a layman, when it comes to fiqh, unspecialized, has no madhhab. Okay, you have no madhhab. You have your own madhhab in medicine, because you studied medicine in a certain way. You have also schools of thought within medicine, within law, within any especially. So, because you are specialized in medicine, then you follow this particular school of treating patients, right? But I cannot say that my madhab in medicine is this and that, because I've never studied this. Right? I know something about medicine, but I'm not a specialist. I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot tell you that my madhab or my school of thought in law is this. What kind of school? What are you talking about? Did you study law? No, I did not. So did you study fiqh? No. So you have no madhab. Al-Ammi means a layman or non-specialized. La madhab lahu, has no madhab. Your madhab is the madhab of your mufti. Okay, which will bring us to the first point. Fatwa, actually the word fatwa is coming from strength. Fatwa, futuwa, fata. When you say fata, قالوا سمعنا fata, futuwa. So, when you ask for fatwa, you're asking for hukm, actually. You're asking for one of these 5 ahkam that we talked about. Is it makruh? Is it haram? Is it permissible? It is recommended, or is it wajib? So you are seeking empowerment, because when ignorance is weakness and knowledge is power. So when you ask, a mufti is the one who gives fatwa, and the fatwa in essence is the hukm. The mufti said, yes, you can buy a house, buy mortgage. Yes, you can do that. That's a fatwa. So now I was ignorant, now I know. I got this fatwa from qualified mufti. Okay? So you have people think that are Hanafis or Shafi'is, they are not. The fact that they have been praying based on Hanafi, they don't know any other thing. The Hanafi is the one who studied fiqh based on Hanafi madhab. Okay? So that person can be called Hanafi. But the really funny story when this brother told me, when I came to America, I never heard what Madahib and Malik and Hanafi. Say, I called my dad in Pakistan. I said, Dad, what madhab do we follow? He said, son, we're Hanafi. So alhamdulillah, now I know. People have no idea, about madhab. So don't call yourself, if you're traveling, you went to a conference in Florida, and you went to an Islamic center, you have a question, and you got the imam there, ask him, I'm doing this, so what should I do? He will tell you, do this, or do this, or that. That's your madhab. Regardless, don't ask him, are you Hanafi or Shafi? No. If you trust someone's knowledge and iman, then take his fatwa. Okay, but don't do shopping for fatwa. Don't do fatwa shopping. It's not right. Because people keep asking at every imam until they get the answer they want, and okay, got it. Don't do that. We are always required to increase our knowledge, to understand the rationale of the fatwa. Where is it coming from? So that's a higher level. So one level is haram. Okay, haram. Or halal, you can do it. Right? But why is halal? Because of, go back to the Quran and the Sunnah and the Qawa'id and the Manhaj. Said, okay, because قاعدة الفقهية الضرورات تبيح المحظورات, and based on the Quranic verse that says that it's not directly addressing the issue, but generally talking about the ethical value. ما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. That's very general. So what I'm saying is that there are so many muftis, and I don't know what you need to do to get this title mufti. It's very cheap. You can get any title you want. All right? Mufti so and so. When people keep repeating it, mufti so and so, mufti so and so, become mufti so and so. So what did he do to get this? What school did he go to? What curriculum did he study? Yeah, he listened to some scholars. All right. I got ijaza and this and that. What on earth is what I talking about? And they give fatwas in issues that are very complex. And I argue and promote the idea of the collective ijtihad, not singular ijtihad, especially when it comes to modern, complex political or medical issues. We cannot afford to have one person making ijtihad in a very complex issues. Collective ijtihad includes scholars of Sharia and scholars of the fields that the question comes from. Can you donate your eggs or sperm? Oh my God. All right, so yes and no. Maybe this is the fruit, the result, the hukm. But to reach this result, you have to do a lot of research, a lot of studies. And when ulama come together, they write papers and they discuss this in only scholars' environment, and then they may reach consensus, or they may reach different opinions, but they go with the majority. And they write that the majority of the scholars approve this, and there were like 11 scholars, like 8 approved, 2 disagreed, and 2 actually abstained. They did not make their mind yet. Right? This is how it works. You don't have to have consensus. So people have no matter. Amli will have a tabala.
Can I have a minute later?
Yes, sure. Dr. Fatma, أرجو إنكم ماشيين كويس so far. Alright, Dr. Fatma, when she's silent, this means that she approves. Okay, so I will take it this way, right? Okay.
But I have a question.
تفضل.
Which madhab?
Go ahead.
There was a question here.
Oh,
There's a question here. Mine is personal clarification, sorry. But you made examples of praying tahajjud and actually not tarawih, what's it?
Yes.
And I prayed different times based on different things that I've heard. is witr right after Isha? Or is it just any time before you go to sleep? I've heard that you pray, witr is the last salah you do. So if you do tahajjud, does witr come after the tahajjud? And, another one, can you do both of these, tahajjud and then witr, before salat as-sabah?
All right, so I'll try to summarize the answer. So ideally, what the Prophet used to do is that he sleeps and then he wakes up before Fajr to pray the Hajj, and then the last thing he prays before Fajr is witr. That's the ideal. But what if the ulama said that if you know and certain that becomes part of your daily routine that you wake up before Fajr, then delay witr. But if you know sometimes you hit the snooze and then you go to sleep and it's difficult, you're not sure, pray witr before you sleep, and then you can pray the Hajj later. Okay? So some actually try to be in the safe side. You know what? I'm going to pray witr before I sleep anyways. If I woke up before Fajr for extra tahajjud, that's fine. If I miss this, at least I guarantee that I prayed witr. Hanafis do this. Why? Because for them witr is wajib. You don't want to take a risk. Right? So, can you pray after Isha? Yes, you can pray after Isha. Or you can delay it until you sleep, before you sleep, or you can delay it until any time before Fajr. Right? It depends on your ability. And some days we are so tired and we know when we sleep, we barely can wake up for Fajr, right? So just pray witr and just have peace of mind. In other situation, yeah, you are awake all night, it's Ramadan, I know I'm not going to sleep, I'm going to stay awake all night. Or I'm going to wake up anyway for suhoor, so I'll delay witr until Fajr. Right? You can do, you have all these options. So choose whatever is convenient for you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
I would like you to elaborate on the verse, the ayah. ولا مؤمنة خير من مشركة ولو أعجبتكم ولا مؤمن خير من مشركة ولو أعجبكم, which means a believer is better than non-believer even if you like that person. It's for male and female. So how do you justify what you said before vis-a-vis marriage?
Oh, okay. So that's an excellent question. All right, there are two ayat, all right? One that prohibits all Muslim men and women from getting married to non-Muslims. That's the ayah that Dr. Fatima quoted. Surah Al-Baqarah, وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا الْمُشْرِكَاتِ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنَّ. Do not get married from a polytheist woman until they believe. To marry a slave, a female slave, is better than getting married to a polytheistic, free, noble woman. Right? So when it comes to value, if you have to get married, you have the urge to get married, then to marry a believing woman who is a slave is better than getting married to a wealthy woman who's free and belong to a high-class family. And same thing, وَلَا تُنْكِحُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَتَّى. Don't allow polytheist men to marry your daughters. To give your daughter in marriage to a believing slave, and for Arabs, slavery is like, very bad. And Quran says that even to give your daughter in marriage to a slave man is better than giving her in marriage to a wealthy, strong, polytheist man. Okay? So this ayah obviously makes it haram for men and women to get married out of Islam. Another ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is one of the last ayat revealed in the Quran, that give exception to this. Alright? The exception is وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ وَطَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ وَالْمُحْصَنَاتُ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ وَالْمُحْصَنَاتُ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ. So the general ruling is forbidden for men and women, but this ayah came to give exception to the general ruling that a Muslim man can marry a Christian or Jewish woman. So this is where al-'am wal-khas, and he also studied usul al-fiqh. They study al-'am wal-khas wal-mutlaq wal-muqayyad, what's absolute and what's restricted. So, and Quran is full of 'am and khas. And it takes a faqih really to read all these ayat to reach a conclusion. I'll give you another example of fiqh, really fiqh, not the cut and paste that we call fiqh now. has nothing to do with fiqh. Fiqh is the precise understanding. يعني Quran, there was a story when a woman got married and after 6 months she gave birth to a healthy boy. And both family of her husband said, well, this son is not our son's son because 6 months should be in line for at least 7 months. How could you give birth for a 6 month boy? And the boy is not premature, it's unhealthy. So they brought her to Omar and said, okay, now we have an evidence he committed adultery. And Omar said, well, we have to do hudud, the punishment. And he called some Sahaba to consult them, and he called Ali. Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he told Ali, this is what happened. What do you think? He said, I think this is a legitimate marriage and legitimate boy. He said, but she gave birth after 6 months. He said, don't you read the Quran? Everybody reads, but you will understand. He said, one ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ. Ladies, the maximum nursing of a baby is up to 2 years. Up to 2 years. وَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ, 2 years. كَامِلَيْنِ, 2 complete years. 24 months. Right? Surah Al-Baqarah. And now you read the other surah, Surah Al-Ahqaf, وَحَمْلُهُ وَفِصَالُهُ 30 شهرا. Pregnancy and the nursing is 30 months. Now 24, 6 months is the least time for pregnancy. She's innocent, she's free. So, and science actually proved that in the modern time, that a woman can have a full pregnancy in 6 months. That's not the norm, but it can happen. And that took Ali to save someone's life. Reading this ayah and this ayah, make the calculation, it's clear. There's no ayah in the Quran that says that the least pregnancy is 6 months. But it takes a faqih to read this and to read this and to put them together and to reach a conclusion. So Omar said, Omar would have been destroyed if it was not for Ali. In many other cases, go Ali. That's fiqh.